I mean, I remember '06 very, very vividly. That was the time Nopi was around. They had their car shows and they started their drift series. And I come from the Miata world, and anything that has to do with motorsports for me stemmed from the Miata, especially in the mid 2000s. So
Mhm.
there's a guy named Jonathan Martin that ran around the same circle as we did. And I remember S3 starting because then there was like the One Lee sponsorship that came in for Marty. He got to travel. So I actually knew about S3, and I can't believe it's taken us this long. I mean, this is like full circle
Yeah.
for us.
Yes, dude. Marty. Like
Yeah.
Juan Lee and Toyota, but specifically drifting was how we survived. Because like I said, we got the magazine in '06. We didn't know a damn thing about actual publishing. We thought writing an article was what there was to magazine and design. And so Cody at the time was the other owner and the designer. We're still friends to this day, but he was big in the drifting world. I was just getting exposed. I had a Nissan 200 SX that I had bought for $102 on eBay out of Alabama, and I was going to be the next drift superstar. I was like at my dad's house welding on this thing, trying to learn how to weld and all that. Cody was doing it. Marty was doing it. They started running Nopi Drift in like, what was it, '06, '07? It was like real early.
Yeah, '06, '07. So '06, '07, I mean, I was single and my job was part-time. I was a consultant and I worked part-time as a technology, advisor for a school. So I got to travel with these guys. And the one thing they needed a car when they got there because all they had was the truck and the trailer. So I would drive Marty's Scion to all these events. I drove it to St. Louis, I drove it to um, Pittsburgh. I drove it to Houston. I flew with them to LA. I drove the rental car while we were in LA. So it was some really, really crazy times. But I remember Cody starting S3. So I guess I didn't know you back then. Honestly, I mean, we didn't meet until maybe 3 years ago when Matt Gamble introduced both of us.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say forever. Yeah, it was like, oh yeah, what's up, man? But I didn't really know you. By the way, I guess we should do the official introduction here for anybody that's trying to figure out what the hell's going on and listening. This is James. How do you pronounce your last name, James?
Marceliana.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. James from Jzilla Track Days. And maybe you guys know about him. Maybe you don't. I'll give a real quick introduction, and then we'll get into it later. But basically, the premise is low intimidation factor, very welcoming track day event that was created, for the people because a lot of times this is an intimidating sport to get into. You have to have somebody to kind of introduce you. It ain't like pickleball where you can go buy a racket and start knocking balls around. But like this is like, this is real stuff. So the intimidation level's high. That keeps a lot of people out of the sport. And James was like, nah, let's break down some of those walls. Created Jzilla, and it's awesome. And we'll get all into that. But let's go. All right, back. So like at that time, I knew it, Marty. And
Yep.
I knew his Scion XB because we were riding in that to the events in some
I
cases and
drove
stuff.
that. I drove that everywhere, man. And I mean, we've driven that like coming back from Houston. I'm pretty sure there was 5 or 6 people in that car on our way back home. And I got stuffed in the back for like the first 2 hours of the ride, and I was like, no, we're not doing this. I'm driving the rest of the way.
Yeah,
So
dude.
so, so I
Yeah, I
drove
remember
like
you.
for like 10 hours straight from Houston. Maybe from like Louisiana. Our first stop was like Louisiana, and then I drove it all the way back. And I think in the car it was me and Marty, and then there was Eric Jacobs and Ray Grunch, and Eugene might have been in the car with us as well. Oh, it was crazy, dude.
Yeah. You still talk to Ray? He's still around.
I do, yeah. Ray's
Yeah.
up in somewhere in Lake Lanier. He's got a nice house up there. He's got 2 kids, living the family life. Ray's doing well.
Yeah. It was fun, dude. Those early drift days for anybody, man, it was there was such an energy to it. And Nopi Drift was sketchy. Like, can we just say like they in typical Nopi fashion, right? It was kind of about entertainment. So like there were some serious barriers and they kind of moved them in. There wasn't a lot of forgiveness. Kids were
Listen, None of us knew what we were doing back then. As you know, the great Andy Sapp said, keep drifting fun. You remember that campaign?
Oh yeah.
Keep drifting fun. And we kind of did the same with track days. When we got started on this track day thing, it was only 15 of us at a time for like 3 years, every 6 months at Little Talladega. I mean, when we brought it to Atlanta Motor Sports Park the first time in 2013, I was just like, we had no idea what we're doing. I thought we were just reliving my bachelor party the last 3 years.
Yeah. Yeah. So
But
how
but
did it
then
grow?
well, so you learn, right? And you put pieces in place that are already in the industry. So from like 2013 to like the end of 2019, we kind of ran things the way everybody else was doing. But at the end of 2019, we made some serious changes, and we like, you know what? We looked at our demographics, and our average demographics was dads that will do this 3 to 4 times a year, 2 to 4 times a year. So it's like, okay, why don't we channel that energy and do it for that? So in 2019, we took a look at our database, and by 2019, I think we were already at about 2,000 drivers by then. I mean, even though we only had like 4 to 5 events a year, I mean, we were absolutely killing it and hammering it.
Now,
So,
wait, when
and
you say 2,000 drivers, that means you have a pool of 2,000 drivers, like
yeah, by
2,000.
29, yeah, by 2019, so at 2013, we had about 45 drivers in the database. But what we did was, instead of this like growth that went like this, we did this instead. So
Right.
the drivers that were driving with us it was just continuous and it was constant. Just and these guys would go back 2 to 3 times a year. And when you add the same guys, the same type of guys 2 to 3 times a year, that's how you grow. From 2013 to 2019, we were probably only adding one event a year, and we didn't have our fourth event until 2015 when we added a couple Fridays of Road Atlanta. I mean, it was insane. I got this Facebook memories that says, hey, here's the 2017 schedule. There were 4 core dates on there, and that was it.
Yeah. So how many now?
We're at over 6,000 now of drivers that drive with us. The growth the last 2 years has been about 350 beginners per year and
Okay.
about 600 to 700, new to Jzilla drivers total, like every single year. But we have a lot of folks that return, and a lot of it is because we we hold, we run a tight ship safety wise, but we're not there to police you. You're there to have fun, and we're going to set the parameters. And if the drivers work with the staff, I mean, it's like the perfect mix.
Yeah. That's awesome. All right. So and I'm speaking from personal experience here. Like I mentioned, those barriers to intimidation, like I assume some of it's cost, right? You're scared to get in
Yep.
there and crash your
Yeah.
car, blow your car up. I mean, best case scenario at a track event, you're killing tires. Worst case
Yeah.
scenario, you just killed your car. You know what I mean? So that's one big barrier of intimidation. And I think another very healthy barrier is like just the, man, am I really going to do this? Like, I don't know. I don't want to be in other people's way. I don't want to do anything stupid. Everybody likes to think that they have experience, yet we all start sucking. Like, nobody comes out there and is a miracle child, right? You know what I mean? Like, you have to you have to suck first. It's part of it. And I'm into the stand-up jet skis, and that was another I relate it to that because that was another big barrier of intimidation. For literal decades, I wanted to ride a stand-up jet ski, didn't really have the opportunity, and then it came my way through a friend that raced stand-up jet skis, and I was like, man, I've always wanted to do that. And he's like, they're already on the trailer. Let's go. He had just gotten back from like a race weekend, and I was like, trying to think of excuses, and finally was like, all right, let's go. And it's kind of the same thing with the track day. Like at some point, we can make excuses till the end of time. There's a lot of life is fine right now. I know all y'all are in your comfort zone. And then the thought of signing up for that track day completely takes you out of your comfort zone. And it's very easy to be like, well, man, I got to dial in my brakes. I just put on this Willwood kit, put my proportioning back. They're always going to make excuses. I'm talking about me here, guys. I'm not talking, I'm talking through me to anybody listening, but like, it's so easy to just next time, and then that turns into like, oh man, next year. And what's that saying? A year from now, you'll wish you had started today, right? And it's like you were
Right.
talking about those core 45 guys that kept coming back. Man, they get better and they get better and they get more infected with the whole culture and the sport and everything. So anyway, what do you say to people that I just described that, are on the verge, have been wanting to do it like in their heart for years and just haven't gotten over that tipping point? I mean, that's what Jzilla is all about, right?
It is, and that's a very loaded question. I'm gonna answer every single like corner of that question because I went through that myself.
Yeah,
So back in the early 2000s, Petit Le Mans was happening, right? You get a glimpse of Road Atlanta, and the first time you go through there and you see these LMP cars practicing, they come out of that bridge, doing about 110 miles per hour coming out of the bridge, and you're like, what the hell is going on here, right? That was
yeah,
fast. You've never seen that before. I'm like red group in the mountains, at this time, early 2000s. It's just like, and people talk about it and say, oh, I'm a great mountain driver, right?
yeah.
Until you get there. So as far as the intimidation of your first track day, so my very first event that I went to check this out was at Road Atlanta, and SCCA had these lunch sessions, and I had a lot of friends that were driving in Spec Miata, and they were already racing. I've never tasted the track, and they're like, "Hey James, man, this is like up in your alley. You have to do these lunch sessions, and you got to try out this track." And I'm looking around, and it's a bunch of race car drivers there. I'm like, I'm not doing that. So what these guys did was sometime in 2003, they invited me to go to Little Talladega, and they were testing and tuning their Miatas like before the season start, and they just needed bodies there. And there was like, okay, there's four of us testing. We need like six people from the general public to just pitch in with the cost, right? It was like 125 bucks, $150, whatever it was. I was like, yeah, I'm in. So I'm in this racetrack with these guys, and they're trying to teach me how to drive on track. And then you realize how much you suck, you know? In a really small track, a really small environment, I was like, damn, I'm really not that good. Um, and then 2008 comes around, and now we're doing this twice a year at Little Talladega, every 6 months. After my bachelor party, the database is growing, right? 2013, 2012 comes around. A buddy of mine calls me up, and people say, "Yeah, you're getting pretty seasoned in doing this, you know." And he goes, "Hey, I just opened up a hotel near Road Atlanta. Skip Barber gave me this 3 day high performance driving school. Do you want it?" I said, "Yes, I absolutely want it." So I go there. I was like, "Oh man, I'm gonna go there. I'm really, gonna show my stuff. I'm gonna improve, dude." I that very first day is just like, "Oh my God, I suck at this, and I know absolutely nothing." And this was like 2013 or so. So I get it where you're coming from. That it is intimidating. And even when we first started doing this, when we first got to Atlanta Motor Sports Park, I think it's May of 2013. We had 75 drivers come, and we were like, 20 of these guys are beginners. What are we going to do? We don't have any instructors. So luckily the community helped out. All the advanced drivers pitched in, helped the beginners, and then we went from there, and then we started developing a program. But our program was just like everybody else's. So there was no change. If you went to another program, it was you were getting the same exact thing. And that's when we had to channel our entertainment self. It's like, how do we make this fun for people? And that's when we made some program changes in 2020 to make this less intimidating. Now, back to what you were saying is like, am I gonna be too slow for this, or am I gonna have pace, or am I gonna break down? Is my car ready? Is your car leaking? Do you have decent tires? Do you have decent brakes? They could be completely stock because that's really all you need to get started doing this. When we finally changed our program to something a little bit, I want to say it's a lot less intimidating when you come into the green group. Uh, what we've done over the years and the results of those changes is a safer program. So now those green guys in 2020 are now in yellow or red, right?
And
So
just to clarify, Green is novice, yellow
Mm,
is intermediate, red's
yep,
advanced. Okay.
correct. Yeah, yeah. And there's also one in between called novice solo. Like when you get out of green, it's kind of like purgatory, and that's like where you learn a whole bunch of stuff. And
Right.
that's the group where like the danger is not with what you know, is what you don't know, and we try to teach you what you don't know in that group so that you can move on. So the results of some of these changes that we've done is really safety. So like this past year alone, we're going to process almost 3,000 drivers this year. Like not unique drivers, but 3,000 like total, right? And
Right.
you have like, let's say you have 135 per event, and you multiply that by 22 to 24 days, and you come up with that number. And there used to be days where like, man, if you had like four wrecks, that was a good day, right? We don't play that way anymore. It's now it's like the game that we play is can we do a no hitter today?
Right.
Right? So if you look at that many drivers and you can do the math on this and it's way less than 1%, we have had, and I can count with two hands in 22 days how many wrecks we've had. We've had seven.
Really.
And none of those seven rode their cars off. They were minor. And some like during the end of the day, and you're just like, yeah, we could have had a no hitter. Some guy smashes it, on the last lap on the wall.
Right.
But when I
Right.
say smash, it's minor,
Yeah.
right? But for us, it's just like we've gotten spoiled with the safety culture that when we have something happen, I was like, we're like, there goes our no hitter, right? Because it's yeah, to us, that's what we try to preach now at the drivers meeting. Because Jonathan, it used to be we used to call it luck, a little bit of luck. I think now it's culture. It's not even luck anymore.
Right.
Because people know to leave a little bit on the table and you're still
Yeah.
going to have fun. And we teach that from the early ons, like in the green group and the blue group, right? And that's like novice and novice solo. And those guys will take it when they go to intermediate and advanced group.
Well, and obviously, I'm not you, and I don't run these things, but I think that my biggest advice to anybody would be teachable. You know what I mean? Be teachable. And listen, if you have that intimidation feeling of like, oh my gosh, I don't want to go out here and screw up or be in the way or screw somebody else up, that's healthy. That's what you should have. It's the guys that don't have that and that aren't teachable and I think they're going to go out there and, whatever, just set lap records. Like those are the guys that I assume you would have to worry about. And actually, that kind of brings up, I don't want to get off topic. So if you got more to say it. But another thing that I do want to talk about is damn, cars are fast now.
It's
We're talking
fast.
about 20 years ago. We were probably going out there in our Miata or our Civic hatchback, and we're doing 110 miles an hour down the back straightaway at Road Atlanta.
Yeah.
It's a different game now, right? Like guys are going, they can go buy a GT 500, GT4, whatever, name it, any of the GT blah blah blahs, and then they're going what 170 miles an hour down the back straight of Road Atlanta with a three
And a three
three
point
point.
belt.
Yeah, like so. How do you instruct these guys? I mean, I assume that instructors are sitting down in a GT 350 or a GT 500, going, "Well, holy crap! I drive a Miata." Like, like
So
how do you?
this is when the lead follow hybrid came about in 2020, and this is when we started seeing the cars were getting faster.
Mm-hmm.
I made this move along with my team. I spoke to my leadership team. It's like we have to do something differently because one, we have to protect these instructors, right? And cars are getting faster. And there were a couple incidents in 2018, I think, where instructors were in the car and they
Oh
hit a
yeah,
wall.
yeah,
And we try to prevent that from happening, and that shouldn't happen at all. So what we did was, and this is unpopular opinion, when we did the lead follow, it was right before COVID, so we were prepared for COVID because we were already making that transition for the next year. And it's one is to protect the instructor. It's like, how can you protect the instructor? You're getting 6 sessions in the day, 6 20-minute sessions. It's like it's one of sometimes you get like a warm up of 15 minutes in the morning, but you're gonna get at least an hour 45 minutes of seat time. So why can't we dedicate those first 2 sessions for people to get comfortable and see the track before the instructors start pushing these guys and girls up to speed. So what we do is we pace these guys and we tell these guys, okay, we're going to pace you the first 2 laps. The closer you are to me, the faster we're going to go. And then on the third session, we're going to get in car and then the other car's following. And then the session after that, we're going to swap. I'm going to get on the other car will be following. And every time in between, you're going to have classrooms and you're going to have your instructor talk to you to fix your bad habits. And the idea behind this is you want to get them as much information as they can get, but not overload them. But
Right.
if you're getting 24 drivers the same information, all 24 drivers will retain that information and drive almost the same exact way and know each other's habits, even though that's their first day on track, because that's all they know. We felt like when we had 24 coaches and every coach had like a different way of teaching from the get-go, we got these guys, this is going to be your pace, we just found out where you're capable of. So now we're going to put the coach inside the car, and then we're going to push a little bit harder, or we're going to go hold a little bit back. But by then, on the third session, the student already has a comfort zone. What we felt like when we saw like one-to-one, it was kind of like the Wild West. But when
Right.
we started doing the hybrid to where it's going to be lead follow first, you're going to see the track, we're going to breathe. Man, the third session, they're so comfortable. And by the end of the sixth session, some of these guys are actually faster than the novice solo drivers that have already graduated. The problem with
Right.
that is the very next track day that they do, it's like it goes all out the window. And you have to have this repetition all the time. You've got to teach them the exact same thing, the same fundamentals. Once they get that fundamentals in, once they graduate and progress, they know what to put on their cars, they know what tires to run, what brakes to run, what coaching they need. And then they can request all those with the organization, and the organization can give it to them.
So if you're totally novice, like your first Jzilla Track Day ever, just to reemphasize, what does that look like? So you show up on a Saturday morning or whatever it
On
is.
in a Chrysler 300C.
Sure. What? Yeah. What does it look like? So you're obviously a driver's meeting, and then classroom. Is it classroom time to start with?
Yes, yes. So you get a driver's packet. Actually, you get the driver's packet right on your confirmation email.
Okay.
But you also get it a week and 2 weeks before the event, so that you know what the schedule looks like, you know where you need to be. Before these drivers even make it out on track as a green group, they've already met with their instructors, and two, they've been to a classroom just to go over some of the basics in the classroom and flags. And then you have 2 more classes after that. What did you learn on the first session? How comfortable was it? Okay, on the second session, how much comfort zone did you have? And this is what you have to do for your third session. And this is
And
what
so
you
the
have to
first
work
two
on.
sessions are lead follow.
So it's 2 to 1, right? One instructors or 1 to 2, two students. The first session, lead follow. The second session, they swap. The other one follows, and the other one's the third car. But sometimes the instructor will give hand signals to where, hey, let's practice passing.
Right.
So they'll do like a little hand signal, like you guys swap spots. The second car will do a point by or a point by, and the other car will pass safely so that they can practice passing. And then we call it pod, and we also do pod passing. So if you have a group that's faster than the other pod, you would have a group of 3 cars pass 3 cars like on a straightaway. It's really cool to see.
Yeah.
So what that does for them is, even in the green group, we teach them how to work together. We preach on working together on track, even on the more advanced levels. It's like,
Yeah.
this track is ours. If you guys don't play nice with each other, nobody's gonna have any fun.
Yeah.
And the staff isn't gonna have any fun with you either. We all want to have fun. So the safer we are, the more fun we're gonna have. You guys work with us, you guys work with each other, and there'll be no policing involved. And the results of all that is the amount of accidents that didn't have to happen, which is 7 this year. 7 out
Right.
of 22 dates, minor stuff, nothing
Right.
written off.
Yeah. I
Leave a
mean,
little.
to put it in perspective, you're more likely to probably get hit driving to the track day than
Oh my
driving at
God.
the track day.
You have no idea, dude. I will leave road Atlanta. You've been doing 130, 140 miles per hour all day on the back street, right? You get on 85 trying to go back to Marietta and 285. You're like, this is so unsafe. What is happening here?
Right,
It's
right.
like nobody knows any of the rules.
Yeah, no, yeah, I know, 100%. Uh, and that's the thing. Yeah, sure, it's intimidating, but it is a very safe and controlled way to play. Yeah, and a lot of times, I know people are. We all love cars, first of all, and a lot of us are modifying our cars, and we think that we're modifying it in a way that's going to make it better, and a lot of times a track day will humble you immediately. You know what I mean? You find out that your car that you thought was hot stuff might not be. You're afraid you're going to break. I know this from personal experience. I'm afraid that I'm going to take my car out being Wooly from S3 magazine and just break it immediately. And then one time one of my buddies said to me, there's no better place to break. He was like, why are you worried about breaking at a track? Literally, a guy in a tow truck's gonna come and tow you back free of charge. You know what
Right.
I mean? He's like, it's the easiest breakdown you'll ever have. So like, I don't think people need to worry about that kind of stuff. I mean, I get it. I get it. You put a helmet on and it gets real. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
in 2019, all right, so real quick, just my background, like, when I turned my dad raced vintage Porsches and stuff like that. So I turned 16. I basically had a Mark One GTI, and I was starting to do some of the Porsche Club stuff
Ooh.
like that. I kept that
Yeah.
car forever. As a matter of fact, I said I would never sell it, and I didn't until 2013. Like I had that car for 17 years, but I sold it to get my 911, which I figure was the move. I had a great opportunity to get one before the values went up, and it's the only thing I've ever done right as far as financial and automotive nature. But anyway, so I was doing some track days and I was super into it, and then in college I went to University of Georgia, which was about 45 minutes away from Road Atlanta. And my dad kind of got me hooked up because he knew Jeff Perner, the guy that was running. He was a driver, a racer, but he was also running the Panos Racing School. This was 2000, so very very early 2000s. Um, and he got me a job working at the racing school, and so basically I would do maintenance on the cars and stuff like that. But when events happened, I got to go out there and kind of be part of the event, and they did some really cool stuff. They did like teen driving schools where they would take these 15, 16-year-old kids and push them to the limits, skid
It was
pads
a
and
Nissan.
adjusting.
It was a Nissan school, right?
Yeah, well, no, I think at the time they were using Subarus, 2.5 RS
Okay.
Subarus. But I got a lot of experience because even though I was not and should not have been a driving instructor, I was, hanging out with them. We were running cars back and forth, so a lot of track time, and they would teach me the tricks at Road Atlanta, how to go fast and stuff like that, and it was great. Then cut to 2005, 2006, we were talking about I got the magazine. So I was no longer driving and I was at a booth, at these events. At a lot of events, I was basically trying to do magazine stuff. And then, a year turns into five, turns into 10, and I fell out of track days. And then that's when the intimidation came because I was like, oh man, like I was improving and then shoot, there was a break in the timeline. And now I'm scared to get back into it because all of my friends have been doing this. They've been track days, they've been drifting and stuff, and I hadn't been. And so the intimidation was high. Then in like 2019, we did this deal with Motivisi. I don't know if you knew about this, but we had that new basically Motivicity was one of our big advertisers, and they funded us to go get a Civic Type R and to get across the country and drive it at some different events.
I
Anyway,
remember
that's where
that.
I got reintroduced to this stuff. And that's where the second you put that helmet on, you're like, oh God, this is real, like this
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
something about that helmet that kind of freaks you out.
Or
But
gets you going.
yeah, it also gets you going. And it's funny because you get that bug so fast. Like I remember, the first event we went to was Gingerman. I didn't know that track at all. It was kind of a disaster. And the funny thing was there was two of us driving, me and Mike Sanders. So because I had some experience, they threw me in their intermediate. And because Mike had like virtually no official track experience, they put him in beginner. Yeah, so they throw me in intermediate, and I hadn't done my homework. I hadn't played the video games or whatever people do, So like I'm like Gingerman, huh? Which way's the first turn? And so they're sending me out there in an intermediate group, and like, oh my god, dude! Like some of those guys were real good. They had some of the drift guys going out there just to play around and get some seat time. And anyway, it was an intimidating situation, but at least it threw me into the wolves in a sense. And then I remember by the end of the weekend, by the end of the day, I was sitting there. I was at a urinal, and it hit me. It was like, man, one more session. If I had one more session, I could link that back session. I think I saw it in my head. And
Yep.
then that's when the bug bites, man. And all you want to do is get back out there and try and fix what you didn't get before. It's weird. It's like jet skis. You can learn while you're not even driving. You know what I mean? It's like all of a sudden, like it starts clicking while you're off track, and you start thinking, "Oh, if I'd have done that, I bet you that would do it."
Listen, the last time I was on a jet ski, I clipped the wake sideways at about 40 miles per hour, and I flew about 60 feet away from the jet ski, and my arms were tired. I couldn't even get back on the boat. So,
Yeah, that happens. Was that a
yeah,
stand up or a sit down?
it was a sit down. So that was a learning experience for me.
Yeah,
That,
yeah.
yeah, momentum can make you go the other way.
Oh yeah, for sure,
So,
for sure.
so, but back to what you were saying earlier about car preparation and stuff like that. We preach that all the way through. It's just like make sure your car's not leaking. Make sure you have an ample amount of brake pads and tires. And if you have that and you've gotten your car checked, your fluids are good, you're gonna have a good first day on the track. Breaking down is should not be your concern if your car is very close to stock and you've done all the maintenance items, regular maintenance items on the car. Now, when you start doing this more and more, and like you said, oh my God, if I can just go back there one more time, this is exactly what I would do. And you do it, and if it's the right thing to do, that means, you're gonna look at your car and be like, okay, now these are the things that I need to update on my cars. And you'll realize that as you go. And that's why we like to tell people don't worry about all this stuff to upgrade your car before your first track day. Get a feel for your car, learn your car, and then you can spend your money wisely on the stuff that you really need so that you can improve. Because you never know. I mean, what if what you really needed was a little bit more coaching to get
Right.
faster? Because and this is when you get to like the intermediate and advanced levels and you kind of top out in your skills. And now you're just like, oh my God, this is as fast as I go. I know that there's more to this. I just don't know what it is. And that's where coaching comes along. And maybe that's where you should spend your money instead of horsepower.
Right. Right. That's probably easier said than done. I think because a lot of us like cars, we hear you. We hear you say that. But in our head, we're still like, yeah, yeah, yeah. But like, I want to look awesome. I want it to be awesome. I want everything to be awesome. But you're absolutely right, man. Just getting seat time is the best thing you can do, right? And just to
Yep.
reemphasize, don't worry about having the perfect car before you go. Make sure it's solid, but like it doesn't have to be an epic car. It doesn't have to keep up with everybody. That's fine.
Listen, so next year, I'm turning 50 next year. And one of the things I want to do, I mean, well, if you look at my cars, I have like two Volkswagen and a K-swap Mercedes, right? And
You
I
have a
mean, it's
K-swap
not,
Mercedes?
I do, I have a K-swap 190E
Oh yeah.
2.316. So it's a 2.416 now.
Okay.
With I mean, it revs up to 8,000 RPM. You crank it, it turns on, right? I'm
Yeah.
not looking, for a whole year looking for head bolts for the car,
Right.
right? So anyway, but besides that, one of the things that I wanted next year was I wanted a nicer car. I want, a faster car, right? I
Yeah.
think I've earned it. 50 years old. I've been doing this for 15 years. It's like maybe it's time to get one of those, right?
Yeah.
And then Kevin Bandy comes out with this video and it's like this is my MX-5 LGA, and LGA stands for low grip assignment or something like that, right? So
Yeah.
he bought these B level like Chinese tires from Amazon for like $70 a piece shipped, right? And this is like 600 treadwear. Takes it to barber, goes out in red group, has pace in red and yellow group, in intermediate advanced group, but the car is sliding all over the place, like controllably. I
Yeah.
mean, he didn't drop a tire all day
Yeah.
on that, but he knew exactly what he was doing. Is that, and his analysis is, can you have a slow car and have fun with it if you put less tires on it? Like, can you have as much fun? And I think he hit the hammer on the head. So now I'm rethinking everything that I need to do for next year. It's like, am I going to buy that fancy car? Am I going to get another Mini Cooper?
Yeah.
It's just
Yep.
like,
I mean, dude, and maybe this changes chapters a little bit because there's so much of that going on in car culture right now. We have, let's just say that we've perfected fast, right? Cars have gotten incredibly fast, incredibly electronic. They protect drivers from themselves. They take over a lot of the controls a lot of times, and they're wicked fast. Does that make a better experience? And this is bigger than cars. This is like life lessons here. You know what I mean? But like, does more always make it better? Or is there something great about a Miata or a Civic, Golden Era Civic hatch where you feel everything? The sensation of speed is all the way up here with a GT3 RS, even though your actual speed is lower. You know what I mean? It's just an
yeah,
intense.
it's like the crazy hot scale.
I mean, and it's the same. I keep going back to jet skis, and I don't mean to do that, but you could talk about mountain bikes. You could talk about jet skis. I'm talking about those because those are my other hobbies. But I assume any hobby you're into, technology has gotten to a point where these tools, a jet ski, a car, a mountain bike, has gotten incredibly expensive. The performance is insane, but we're losing something along the way. Have we lost the sport in a sports car? I tend to say yes. You may have a different view because you're doing timed events, so it's a little bit different, but
It's a little bit of both.
it's a little bit of both.
Yeah, it's a
Like,
little
where's
bit
the
of
fine
both.
line?
So the fine line is, I don't know if you watch How I Met Your Mother, but Barney comes out with this crazy hot scale. So the hotter the girl is, the crazier she is, and it's like this linear line that goes up, right?
Yeah,
But I think when you have someone that's a really good driver and trying to have fun, but they don't really have the pocketbook for like a GT3 RS, they're kind of going to plateau on the amount of money they'll spend. So they'll find a way to make this all fun. But now, if you have like that GT3 RS money, yeah, you're going to get that and you're going to try it. You're either going to like it, you don't, and you go back to what you were before. I mean, you have the finances to be able to do that.
mm-hmm.
The problem with some of these cars is like, if you take like a cheaper car, you can have fun, on surface streets legally, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when you get to like a GT4 or a GT3, I think that you're going to do a lot of illegal things if you try to do that on the street to get the capabilities out of that car, even though you're able to do it. It's like, why would you
Right.
do it on the street?
Yeah.
Um, you definitely go to the track, and if you can afford a car like that, you can definitely go to the track. But everybody's fun, like the definition of fun is completely different. And then some people is like, okay, how do I make this even more fun? And they'll reinvent themselves and put all seasons on their cars during a track day and learn the car at a slower pace, but you're still having the same amount of fun.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, it makes sense.
But
It's
electric cars are good for picking up the kids at school. I
yeah.
mean, if I had all the money in the world to buy an electric car, I would pick up my kids. I would be the first one in the carpool line, and I would get the biggest electric car as I can possible, and I would sit at the back of that electric car for like an hour and work while I wait to pick up my kids. That's,
Yeah.
that's to me. I saw one of your reels that said, these, cars today are appliances, and I was like, that's my word. It's
Yeah.
like that's
Yeah.
exactly what I tell the parents at like my kids' soccer team. And it's like,
Well,
why aren't kids wanting to drive? I was like, because everything that's out here right now is an appliance. There's not a cool commercial anymore on TV. There's no like drop it like it's hot, Das Auto, Volkswagen. You don't see those commercials anymore. We have a front wheel drive Acura drifting in the desert.
yeah. Yeah. I know. Well, and now, oh God, this is where I just get so ramped up about everything. It's just okay. Like car, yeah, we're all starting to use the word appliance. Even car manufacturers, have you noticed they are using the word mobility? Like they are trying to out with driving, in with mobility, because it's like you said, they want your car to be an extension of your work and or social life. Like what the hell is that?
Give me a
And
train
on top,
station.
what's that?
Give me a train station. Give me an electric train station
Yeah,
for that.
that's what public transportation's for. And on top of that, the marketing thing, dude, that's a whole nother podcast, which we should do because you mentioned Volkswagen. I know you like Volkswagens. Volkswagens used to have some of the greatest car commercials on TV. There was the Das Auto thing, where they were talking, where they were making fun of like the Fast and Furious type trends and the Nopi trends and stuff. I remember when the Mark V came out, there was Fast, that little character that they made, and I specifically remember a commercial where like it was like a younger guy in his mid 20s, maybe late 20s, and then his girlfriend. And she's like, can you like roll up the window? It's a little breezy. It's a little drafty in here. And like this fast character in the back seat is like, no, the windows down, drive, And it's like, that's what they sold. They sold passion,
The feel,
sensation, engagement. They sold feelings. They didn't just talk
feelings.
about screen size and range and all these nanny devices that protect drivers from themselves. If you guys still have cable or you look at commercials in any way, shape, or form, pay attention to car commercials. They're basically saying that we can't drive and that this car will protect you from yourself. In every situation, there's like the guy that's like, uh-oh, how am I going to park? And then it parks. That's so pathetic to me. Car companies are gifted with this special thing that makes them more than an appliance, and it's connection to their cars. It's been there since the first car, and they're losing it. And when they lose it, for a generation, I don't know how you're going to get it back without serious, serious marketing efforts. Like it's already on the way out. It was like an advantage. It was a gift that the automotive industry had, and it's going away. And I guess if I'm going to wrap up this random talking, like, what about the youth? Like you do a track day. You mentioned that a lot of these guys are dads, obviously, because a lot of them are our age. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, what about these
So,
kids? These
so
kids that
sound.
are, well, I was just going to say these kids that are, whatever, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 years old that have grown up in their dad's country club pickup truck or their mom's 3-row SUV, probably with a tablet in their face. They don't know the first thing about sound, engagement, visceral driving. They don't know it. And on top of that, cars are ridiculously expensive and there is not, I don't want to say there's not, but it is not easy to get into a fun, affordable car as a 20-year-old. When we were 20, man, we had options. You know what I mean? Like there were Civic SIs, there were Integras, there were Eclipses, there were GTIs, and all of these cars
I
were
want all those
affordable.
cars.
They're affordable and they were fun. They were fun to mess with,
Yeah.
and it created a whole new generation of hot rodder, us, the import tuner generation. But like, do you worry about the future of track days? Like, how do we get these kids to fall in love with something that they have no experience with?
Yeah, I worry a little bit about that. But the climate is also changing in track days these days.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these guys that are coming out, even in their mid 20s, all the way to their early 30s, I mean, they're coming out to the track with way nicer cars than we ever have. So
Yeah,
as far as this generation that's coming out, I think the culture is still strong. It's just different from what you and I grew up with. You're
yeah,
not gonna find an $18,000 Integra anymore, brand new. It's
yeah,
just not in the books. The Integra now is like $60,000 or whatever it is for the Type S. Um, but that being said, you'll have three guys with a Type S out there because while these guys grew up with that Integra from the late 90s, these are the same guys that are buying that Integra now and bringing it to the racetrack and
right,
have a
right,
little bit faster car, but staying to their roots. I mean, I'm kind of like the same way with the Volkswagens. I love the Volkswagen. My first car was a Mark III Golf. But now I have a 6 GTI that I track, or a 5 Jetta that I track, and I love the cars because it's always been what I wanted to drive fast. Now, would I like a Porsche? I think I would enjoy it for like a couple months,
Mhm.
but then I'd probably want to drive like what I've always had a passion for. And a lot of these guys have kids now, and those kids are getting introduced to this culture. And I think it's still strong. Now, what you're probably trying to see is how do you reach the ones that want to get from point A to point B and have no idea what this is about. So that's where us as enthusiasts have to be more open and be a little bit friendlier to some of these guys that don't know enough about this, because you just might press the right button and they're really that person. But if you just put them down, oh, he's not even a car guy, it's just like, hey, why don't you come to one of these events? And let's put a helmet on you, and let's take a couple hat laps in my 20-year-old track car, and see if
Yeah.
this is something that you like. And then that guy's gonna call you up. It's like, hey, what should I get? Should I get the newest GTI? And I tell him, it's like, well, there's a better car for about the same price range. I hate to say that, but there is, like, right out of
Yeah.
the box,
Yeah.
that's a little bit more fun. And I'll tell them that, and they'll come back to the track day with that car. But I think a lot of this is educating the general public that don't know enough about what we do.
Right.
To them, it's just like all they see is the media on TV, these lame commercials. But I think it's up to us to invite them to some of these events.
And somehow, not me and you, but somehow, like as a car culture generation, import tuners, whatever you want to call it, we have dropped that ball. And I can't figure that out. I've thought about this a lot. We're in a time where media is completely saturated. Everybody's got a phone and a YouTube channel or whatever.
Mhm.
Like Ken Block, video comes out and it gets what, tens of millions of views. Yet the younger generation is not connecting what they watch and they're being entertained by what they can actually do. Whereas in the 90s, all we had was magazines. We didn't have all the information, but somehow we instinctively knew just from our local community and our boys and our car crew, here's what we
Yeah.
need, here's what we need to do. And it's weird that we have all the information now, yet the youth isn't making that connection. I do think it's interesting. You said something a minute ago and it kind of stuck with me. It's like now that our generation is having kids and those kids are going to be getting their keys soon, if not already, are we going to pass that down? Did it maybe skip a generation? I
No.
also think, what's that?
No, I don't think it will, because it's always in you, and your kids are going to see that. They're going to have a little bit something in them. So,
Yeah.
to give you an example, I have a 10-year-old, right? And throughout this 10-year-old's life, I mean, I had a Miata, but he didn't really pay attention to it. But I've always had my dual clutch Volkswagen, and it
Yeah.
makes really nice upshift sounds. So
Yeah.
when he makes race car sounds, a 10-year-old, it's like ba ba ba, right? My 5-year-old got a taste of the K swap 190 with a manual transmission. So the car noises the 5-year-old makes is bom, bah. He has that little, with the clutch going in, he holds back a little bit. So those are the car noises that he makes, and that's the younger one.
Yeah.
So
That's
it's
funny.
I think you pass a little bit on to your kids. Like my oldest one is really into cars, my youngest one is not.
Yeah.
But they're always going to have, I think, a little bit of that. And when they end up to be the ages to where they buy cars, I think they're still going to consider some of the stuff that they grew up with into consideration. I mean, I know I did,
Hmm.
based on the cars that I love. I mean, I love
Well,
Volvo wagons and, old Mercedes Benzes that are 3 box small cars. I mean, it's,
I think I see a wide open lane here in the automotive industry, and God, I pray that it happens because we've gotten to a point where, like we said, and like we all know, cars have gotten pretty ridiculously expensive. They've also gotten disengaging. So when you take those things into account, there is a wide open lane for one of these car manufacturers right now to break the mold, to strip a car down as much as legally and regulatory possible, right? Put a small turbocharged engine in it, give it moderate horsepower, with aftermarket potential, give us the blank canvas that cars used to be. Like if Nissan, Nissan's in deep, deep trouble right now. If they could somehow pull it together and make an S chassis or a Datsun 510 reminiscent thing, make it
All
small,
day.
put a manual sunroof in that thing. Make it so manual that it's actually freaking kind of cool and intriguing to the youth. Get that
No,
price down to 24 grand or less to where a young person in high school, college, fresh out of college can afford this car payment along with everything else that's so expensive in our lives now. See, we didn't have that.
yeah.
We didn't have all the monthly subscription crap that kids have now. If somebody could nail that, I think that it would be bigger than the car itself. It would start a whole revolution of youth that is tuning back into driving and what that really means, the physicality of it. If you could hit that, man, I think it'd be on.
And I think that's very easy to do because the technology is out there already. You get a 2,800 pound car, right? And it's small, but 2,800 pounds these days is lightweight,
Yeah, yeah.
compared to everything else. You put about 180 natural horsepower to it,
Uh-huh,
180, make it rev up to 7,500.
uh-huh,
Give it some fun, give it some
yeah.
grit, and you got it right. Put it between 25 and $30,000, and it would sell. And not only the kids would buy it, but grown ass men like us would probably buy it too. And we're the ones with the money right now, right? And it would
Well,
sell.
and that's why I bought my Fiesta ST. It was more of like a show of support, and it was like, dude, this Fiesta ST is like a rowdy hot hatch of the 90s in 2015 or whatever it was. I was like, I'm all about it. And at the time they were selling for 21, 22 grand. But then again, that's a statement against everything we just said, because 6 years ago or less, we had a Fiesta ST that would retail for 22 grand. It made 190 horsepower, or whatever it was. It was forced induction. All the automotive journalists claim this thing is one of the most fun cars you could buy, yet nobody bought them.
It
Why?
was
Because
wild. The car was so good.
I think it was because it was a Ford Fiesta that people were just like, nah, I ain't doing that. But
Yeah.
like the BRZ FRS 86, whatever you want to call it. Now that car is kind of ballooned in price a little bit to where it doesn't make a lot of sense either way. I don't want to say it's not a good value, but what I do want to say is for the money, you can get something used that's more potent, or you can
Yeah.
spend a little bit more and get into Type R's and stuff like that. And so it's kind of fallen in a weird spot. But like that's another car that should have hit. It was the car at least 10 years ago that we were all asking for. Toyota made it, and then we complained because it wasn't turbo. Like, although I get it, the Subaru engine for me is a turnoff. Like that. If I'm getting a Toyota, I want the Toyota reliability. You know what I mean?
Well,
Like,
I think they're gonna do that over the next couple of years. Let's see how much it's gonna cost, though.
yeah,
Toyota's been doing a really good job. Um, going back to their roots in the 90s, and
yeah,
I think they're understanding what we're understanding is we don't want to spend that much money on these
yeah,
cars, but we want like the complete package. I think Toyota's starting to understand that, so they're really targeting guys like us with these new
yeah,
cars that are about to come out. I mean, starting with the GR Corolla. I mean, GR
yeah.
Corolla under 40 grand, and the amount of performance that you get on that. I mean, it's kind of insane because I mean, how long ago was the Evo? When was the last Evo made? That was here 10 years
15?
ago, 15
Yeah.
years ago. Yeah. I mean, if you look at even some of these German companies, like if you look at even Mercedes-Benz, let's take them for instance, right? So they want to compete with the Audis and the Volkswagen Rs, and the Audi S types, like S3s. So they release like an A35 AMG or a CLA 45 AMG, 300, 400 horsepower. Now, granted, these things are heavy, but they got so much power. If you drive one of those things, it feels like a refined modern day Evo. But it's going to cost you $70,000. That's the only problem, right?
Yeah.
But I think that a lot of these guys are starting to get it. But there is a generation of people that want these smaller pocket rockets. I mean,
Yeah.
Hyundai understood that this time with a Type N
Yeah.
when they came out with it. I mean, that's one
I
of the funnest cars I've ever driven.
really see. I haven't driven one, but
Oh
I
my God, yeah.
love I love the Hyundai energy. Like it
The
reminds me a
Veloster
lot.
N
What's that?
The Veloster N is one of
Yeah.
the best. funnest cars that you can drive. It's not the fastest car. It's not faster than the Civic Type R, but when you get in it and you get it on track or even on the mountain roads, the sound that it gives you and the feel that it gives you is worth every single penny that you pay for. I'm not even a Hyundai guy, and
Yeah.
I drove the car twice, and I'm just like, this is incredible.
Yeah, well, funkiness and radness counts for me. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? I don't know if it does as much for track people because they're trying to get the performance, but I think that Hyundai, God, they're trying, dude. Like they're trying like Honda was trying in the 80s or like Toyota was trying. Like they're like, how much do we have to prove this to you guys, man? We're running what's the TCR or whatever the intro to
yeah.
the IMSA stuff. Like they're kicking ass in that. The cars look good. Like you said, they're funky. They give you the feedback. You know what I mean? Like they're fun to drive. I thought the ST stuff was like that too. Like the other reason I got the Fiesta was because, we get press cars to drive from time to time. And in 2017, Ford sent a Focus ST in yellow, which helps, with some of the Mountoon Ford Performance
Hmm.
package stuff on it. And I was like, holy crap, dude. This car reminds me of a GTI in the 90s. Like it
It's
was,
very European too. Like
uh-huh.
the ST line was very European. It was good for
It
Ford to
felt
bring that
very
in.
European. It felt rascally, it felt feisty, it was the manual is engaging, it's not a numb
Hmm.
manual experience, it was torquey on the low end, it burbled and stuff like that. And I was like, dude, this car gets it. It's got the energy and the spirit that the Volkswagens had in like the 90s, for example. So I don't know where the hell we were going with that. We got off
No, no,
topic,
no, no.
but
I mean, this is all part of the discussion, right? Like, what do you want as a track car? I mean, what's affordable and what's not, and what feels good to you? And for
yeah,
guys like us, we want that feeling out of a car, and it doesn't take much for us to get that feeling because once you hear it, once you feel it, once you drive it, I mean, that's the car that what you're going to want to drive,
yeah,
and it's also what you grew up with. You know,
yeah,
has a lot
yeah,
to do
yeah.
that with that as well.
And the question is, do you opt for something old and then you're in it, you're working on it, you're out in that hot tarmac of Road Atlanta working on the car, or do you go for something newer? When we had that Type R, so I owned technically that Type R for 6 months, and then we had to give it back, sell it for $1 to Motivicity, which hurt, and then Motivicity got it. Long story, I'll go into it another day, but we went under the table and they sold it back to us along with Super Streets Evo. So it was like buy the Type R, get the Evo for free kind of a deal. And we were like, all right,
Nice.
yeah. So Mike bought the Type R and the Evo. He sold the Type R a couple year and a half ago, and he regrets that so badly because he was like, that Type R was the perfect dad car. He was like, I could start it and not wake up all the neighbors like his Evo, or he's got a supercharged Mustang S550. He's like, I can't drive that car because he's like, I start it, all the neighbors are pissed. He's like, what am I going to do? Am I going to go to Publix in a supercharged S550 to go get milk? It's the loudest thing. It disrupts everybody. He was like, so can I do it? Yes. But he's like, a lot of times I don't. He's like, the Type R was the perfect modern day dad car. I could take the kids to school. I could fly under the radar when I wanted to. It was really fun and precise when I wanted it to be. And I could go and do a track day and drive it back home. Like it was,
That's
it was
my
like,
Mark 6 GTI. You just described my Mark 6 GTI and what I use it for.
yeah. So it's the perfect car. I don't, that's the thing. If I were to go do a Jzilla track day, I would kind of want to take my CRX, but I don't know. Maybe there's an argument for, getting something a little bit newer that's a little bit, more sorted, like a little bit more
Listen,
refined.
I fight that battle every day. So we'll see what'll happen the end of next year.
Yeah. Uh, One thing I know we had talked about at lunch that I wanted to bring up. Okay, so you're a Euro guy. You've got what, the Fahrenheit Jetta,
I do, yeah, I do.
and you're giving it away.
So yeah, so we're gonna give that away, and we haven't even put this out there yet. But 15 years of Jzilla, I was just like, let's do something really cool. It's like, well, why don't we just give this car away that I drive on track? It's dead reliable. I take passengers on it. Whenever I have a friend that shows up, hey, I drove 2 hours to come and see. Yeah, you're coming for a ride in the taxi. So, and then after the taxi, I'll put you like in faster cars with faster drivers. But yeah, we're gonna give away the Fahrenheit. It's completely set up. It's got a Miltech exhaust system on it, Olin's suspension, and every piece of 034 Motorsport bits that you can possibly find on the cars there. We'll give it away with some track tires with a nice set of lightweight Koenig wheels. I mean, it's gonna be set up. I mean, it's gonna have,
So
you know, transmission coolers. It's gonna have a catch can from 034. I mean, it's a legit track car with seat warmers.
so what's the catch? How do you? I mean, it's not like a raffle, right? Like you're giving this car away. It's
Yeah, so
actually
we're just gonna get someone involved to do the raffle on it, and there's no purchase necessary. You get on our database system. We'll turn in like our database, and a third party company is gonna pick a number, and you can win the car. Only catch is,
along with
the more track days you
track
do, the
time,
more
right?
yeah, along with track time, $3,000 worth of track time with it.
Yeah.
And what we'll do is, like, the more track days you do in 2025, the more chances you have to win.
Okay, okay. So it's like for every track event you sign up for, you get a chance to win this car.
Right, but you don't have to go to a track day to do it. You can just sign up and get on the database, and then your name will automatically be entered. There's no pressure in doing this. This is all a part of our push to make this fun. Nobody's doing this. We're gonna do something out of the box. We've been doing it, since 2020, where we started making changes. We've added features to the events that people aren't doing, and it's not a gimmick. It's kind of like a part of me. Like, what do I want in an event? How do I feel special in an event? You know what? If there was an espresso machine in there, that would be awesome. I need a cup of coffee in the afternoon, but I want it to be a good cup of coffee. So
Right.
we implemented the espresso machine. The other thing is, I got to go to like a Braves game, and I was in a suite, and I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. We always wonder, I wonder how great it is to be in the suite during Petit Le Mans at Road Atlanta. So what do? Let's just get the suite for our drivers. It'll cost us, what, three drivers per day to get the suite, to give
Right.
everybody this grand experience. That's what we're gonna do. I hate, I went to a track day once. It was a complete food desert. It's like, no, there's always going to be drinks and snacks, and there's always going to be a food truck or cantina for you to get food at, like at every single track day. It's just put a little bit of modern amenities to the events, so that the people will be there, are going to be comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. How many events do you know how many events you've got for 2025 so far?
I think we got 24 days already, plus a couple of private events,
Yeah.
and it's growing because we just added Miatas before the Gap. So when they go to Deals Gap, they're gonna
Right.
have like $2,000-3,000 go to Deals Gap. So I think it's that Wednesday before we rented Road Atlanta. So we're gonna hold an event called Miatas before the Gap. Now it's open to all cars, but we're only gonna open the beginner group to Miata drivers. But it's open to
Okay.
like all makes and models. But it's gonna be
Yeah.
mostly Miatas there.
So what tracks are you primarily at?
We're at Road Atlanta for 3 weekends. We're at Atlanta Motorsports Park for 5 Sundays, and then Barber 3 weekends, and then a weekend in Charlotte, a motor
Okay.
speedway where we do Under the Lights. That event is spectacular. And then we try to do a trip every 2 years to Germany and Belgium, or both. This year, 2025, we'll try to do both. Eugene's gonna lead the Germany trip. Hopefully, I can lead the Belgium
Oh,
trip. And yeah, check out museums, restaurants, and drive on a racetrack, depending which trip you do.
that's sick. So how long is that trip?
6 days.
So 6 days, and it's
Yeah, yeah,
all
four
like
nights.
it's like a car centric,
It's
just
like bang, bang,
European.
bang. But what we do is we make it, even though it's like, let's go here, let's go here, we make it cool enough to where your spouse can go and they would have fun as well. Like
Okay.
the Belgium trip is the one that I procured, and it's based on food. So we go to three Michelin rated restaurants in Belgium and do the track day. So the
Do you
four
guys
nights,
That's like
It's
brilliant, dude.
it's
Like
it's
to make
legit. This is why I got this because I like to eat, man.
yeah, I know. But dude, like if you can mix like food, wine, well, maybe not wine, but food, car, culture, all that kind of stuff together.
Oh, there's a
And
lot
and
of wine and beer consumed at these trips. I mean, I don't drink, but I've seen it. And
yeah,
the Germany trip is museums, like manufacturer museums, and then you get to do a full-fledged track day at the Nürburgring.
that's awesome. I mean, because cars are such a part of more modern European history. Like there's a lot there. And I always thought it was interesting. I use this example, like the old Top Gear, right? That was a
Right.
show that like me and my wife could watch together and both love it. And even though she doesn't, love cars, she likes cars, but not like we do. You know what I mean?
My
But
wife
like,
is the same. My wife and I used
yeah,
to watch that all the time.
if you can create something like you're talking about that you could travel abroad, have an experience that both you and your significant other could enjoy and remember for the rest of your life, yet something that was more energy packed than stale museums, like let's be honest, and like touring churches and stuff like that. That'd be kick ass, dude.
Listen, when we go to Spa, the hotel that we stay at is the one in city center at Spa, and it's got the private lift up the hill to go to the natural spa. So that's
Really?
inside our hotel. We have a private lift from our, like the public lift is here, and the private lift is on this side. And then you come from our hotel, you take the private one to go up to the
God.
thermal spas of Spa. Like that's we chose that hotel because the spouse might come,
Yeah.
and it's city center. She doesn't want to go to the racetrack. She goes upstairs and gets a massage, or she can walk around a city where there's literally hundreds of restaurants
Yeah. Yeah. You're speaking
and
my wife's
shops.
language. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so
Um,
we try to create a little bit of something for everybody on these trips. It's not just for the car dude.
yeah. Yeah. So you also had mentioned, I thought it was pretty amusing and awesome. Like there's like a Euro crew coming here.
So there's a Euro crew coming. So we started this trip in 2018 to go to Belgium, but then 2 years ago we went to Germany. Eugene went on the trip because he's pretty much a local over there. We've been talking to Ray Francis of Ring Freaks, and Ray calls us up and says, "Hey, I see that you have this back-to-back day in two different tracks. I think we're gonna come." So Ray Francis and some of his crew is coming to the States and they want a piece of America. When I say they want a piece of America, they want to shoot guns at the range. They want to eat at Golden Corral. They want to eat at Waffle House. They want to go to the Coke Museum. Like these guys is like they want to American it up, and I'm telling them I am not going to the Golden Corral with you guys. You know, I might go to the Waffle House because I actually like that place. But you guys are on your own at the Golden Corral, and
Dude,
you
I
know,
want to be an American tour guide for these people. That would be kick ass. That would be
well,
awesome.
let's get you together with Eugene. Yeah, let's get you involved, and yeah, you have to check. It's gonna be wild, dude. And they're coming this
Dude,
week.
that'd be a blast, man. Meet them at the airport. What's up, brothers? Like, let's go.
Yeah,
But
yeah, we definitely have to get you involved. But yeah, they want barbecue. They just want to American it up while they're here.
I love it, dude. We need to somehow like incorporate a monster truck jam into this. That's awesome. All right. I'm trying to think, man. Is there anything else? Obviously, let's do the shout out thing. It's Jzilla Track Days, right?
It is.
So that's the website if you want to go check. Oh, look at that. That's the website if you want to go check out the website Jzilla Track Days, and it's Jzilla. It's also Instagram, right? You're pretty
Yeah,
consistent. Jzilla.
Instagram's at jzillatrackdays.com. Facebook is facebook.com/jzillatrackdays.
So you got two events this weekend, right?
Yeah, we got two events. It's a back-to-back Atlanta Motorsports Park on a Sunday and then Road Atlanta on a Monday.
I
Um,
assume it's too late to sign up for that, right?
it's sold out, but I mean, if you want to show up with a car, just come show up with a car one of those days.
Well, I mean, I was just
Let
gonna
us
say
know.
for anybody that's listening, if you guys just want to kind of dip your toes in the pool, you can come out and spectate this stuff,
Yeah,
right?
you
Like
can
it's
come up. You can come. What at Atlanta Motorsports Park? You can come out and spectate over there. We can give you ride-alongs. You can also buy in for a half day to do the skid pad the whole day. So we'll have the skid pad open for the public. It's $100, and you can go slide your car around, take a coach with you, learn a little bit. But yeah, if you the track day is sold out, but if you want to come and do the skid pad, yeah, we'll have the skid pad going as well.
So what's it cost to just come and watch?
Nothing,
Nothing. So if you guys want to
nothing.
come
Be our guest.
and
Yeah, be our guest.
just literally feel the spirit and the vibes and see if it's something you might want to come back to, it is free.
Yeah.
And you said you can do ride-alongs?
You can do ride-alongs. We ask for a donation because we do have to pay for the insurance for the ride-alongs, and you're going to need to rent a helmet, and we'll have helmet rentals over there as well. But I mean, if you really think about it, you go to a racetrack and you get a ride-along, and it costs you nothing. I mean, we ask you to donate. I mean, this is very similar to going to an amusement park and getting a driver with you to take you around at the track, at 8/10, which is faster than you're ever going to go on a surface street.
Yeah, yeah. And it could be the start of an entirely new obsession in your
Oh,
life.
it will definitely be a start. There's no doubt about it. We'll teach you how to burn your money.
Yeah, pretty much. Um, All right. Well, that's cool. So yeah, you guys, follow them on Instagram. Check out the website, see what they got going on. And if you're not ready to like straight up sign up right out the gate, like if you don't have that little bad influence friend to like get you in, just come and check it out. And like I
It's
said,
free. It costs you nothing. It
dip
costs you
your
nothing.
toes in the water and see what happens. You know what I mean? Like one thing I will say about, well, not one thing, but like one thing I'll say about like the track day community, like it is not exclusive. It is very inviting, very inclusive, very much. If you come and you don't act like you know it all and you're not like a douchebag, people will take you under their wing and they want you to be out there with them. Again, for like the millionth time, it's just like jet skis. The jet ski community wants nothing more than for you to try it and go, "Oh my God, I'm in." You know what I
I
mean?
mean,
It's
listen, what a time to live. We can go to a racetrack. We're pro drivers, and manufacturers go out to test, and then you get to go there and pretend to be a race car driver for a day. I mean, if you told me 15 years ago this is what I'm going to be doing, is I'm going to get you guys by the masses, and then this is what we're going to do. We're going to have some fun. You guys would have thought I was crazy.
yeah, yeah, and these are real skills, guys. Real skills that I don't want to say you can use them on the street. You got to, use your powers wisely, so to speak. But these are real things that will make you a better driver. You know what I mean? And damn, in a world where cars are getting more and more electronic, like the real skills is it's authentic, it's real, it's something to be pursued. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, 99% of the people that do this start to realize that you don't need to be driving fast on the street because you have access to some of the stuff to do it safer and not be able to get in trouble. The other 1% will just do what they want to do. But the 99% will start realizing that. And I was like, yeah, there's better ways to channel this energy.
Well, from what I've learned at Panos Racing School and stuff like that, yes, it kind of tames the beast, right? Like there's that
Yeah,
thing inside of you that you want to get out, you want to go fast, but you can't go fast on the street. Even when you get those little sprints, it's not it. You don't really get to let that beast out of the cage, so to speak. So you go to track day and do it, and it kind of pacifies you. Also, you learn and you realize that there are uncontrollable variables on the street. Period. It
yeah,
doesn't matter how good of a driver you are. You don't know what's around that corner. You don't know what's in the road. You don't know what's putting around in front. It's uncontrollable variables. You will
trees.
never be able to go out there and learn and be good when you're on the street. You're not.
Yeah, and there's also something different about laying on the throttle for 12 to 15 seconds, and you're like, I'm still on this.
Yes.
We're about to
Like the
approach
back.
sixth
Well,
gear.
yeah. The back straight around Atlanta's like that.
Yeah, and
Like
it's like,
you've got time
it's like,
to
I
go,
gotta
huh?
brake, and I gotta brake a short distance to take a 60 mile per hour corner, 65 mile per hour corner.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah. Yeah. It's awesome, man. Um. Anyway, we're gonna have to do this again because I think that there's a lot of common ground and a lot of cool stuff to talk about. And I also like I like talking to you about just car culture in general right now and automotive news and
Absolutely, yep.
trends and auto because you see it the same way that we at S3 see it for sure. But we're also like a little over an hour, and I don't want to like make it go like Joe Rogan long or anything like that.
No, no, this is sweet spot right here.
I feel like this is a sweet spot, yeah, because
Yeah.
we can get into later about different things about etiquette, track insurance, stuff like that. But we can save that for another day. I think this is cool. I've enjoyed the hell out of this. You got me inspired. Hopefully, hopefully you got some other people inspired. Like I said, like whatever. To sum it up here, track days can be an intimidating thing. Like I said, this ain't pickleball. This is real cars, real money, real speed, real exhilaration, but also real potential danger if you go out there and you don't listen and you're not teachable. But what you get from it is like you said, we live in a time where we can do this. Like
It's euphoria, man. It's
this is
euphoria.
insane. Like if you just chasing speed is like the coolest thing that we get to do. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yep.
awesome.
And you
Um,
don't even have to be the fastest one out there. You're still gonna have a great time.
no, hey, if I'm out there, I'll be slower than y'all, so like you'll be good right there. I'll be in a
We'll
CRX.
we'll put you in the advanced group.
Dude. All right, so yes, James from Jzilla Track Days. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Man,
Um,
awesome to be here with you, man. I know it took a long time to make this happen, but man, I'm excited to see what 2025 brings for both of us.
Hell yeah. All right. Anything else you got to say, or is that it?
No, we're good, and we'll see everybody at the track.
All right. Love y'all.